Most of us have long known about hair transplants. As I said before, 3 o'clock in the day, we called them a punch and grow, which is not very nice, but, you know, that's what we did. And while some go bald without a concern, others feel strongly about losing their locks. Usually it is men, but women too experience hair loss and thinning, and it can play on one's confidence. I must say, though, I have never thought about facial hair and the fact that some men struggle to grow a beard, whether it is a subtle stubble or a full-on goatee. Facial hair is desired by many here and across the globe. However, just like receding hairlines and bald patches, genetics often stand in the way of people achieving the look that they want. This is where transplants come into play. The transplanting body hair onto one's jawline. And while there are only a handful of clinics offering this cosmetic surgery in New Zealand, just like hair transplants, the procedure is reportedly growing in popularity. And it's hard to pinpoint the exact number of people going ahead with this, but the global beard transport market size, they've got a figure on it, is valued at about $189 million US. That was in 2021 and is projected to reach 1.2 billion in the next 5 years. Dr Garsing Wong from New Zealand Hair Transplantation Institute runs a clinic in Auckland, as well as being an ambassador for patient safety at the International Society of Hair Restoration Society. He completed his first beard transplant just 3 years ago, and the good doctor joins me now. Good afternoon. You there, Dr. Wong?
Yeah, funny thing, copy doesn't work or again.
Oh, we've got trouble with
Can
the
you
phone.
hear me?
Are you there, doctor?
Yes, I can hear you, or rather.
I might just put you on hold there. Not quite sure. Did you hear that, Kelly? You might need to call back. I'm not quite sure what he was calling me in on. I must say I've never heard that before. So we'll try and get a hold of Garsing Wong, Dr. Garsing Wong, very shortly. Paula said, Leah, I handle every piece of firewood about 6 times before I burn it. Well, why do you do that? But you just can't beat a fire. No, you can't beat a fire. And yeah. Leah, I got me 2 cubes of wood. Some of it got wet the other day, but it smelled beautiful. Very nice wood from the firewood factory, all undercover now. I'm looking forward to it. Not sure if it works out cheaper than the actual heat pump, but it's definitely a nicer heat. From Paul. I think it goes back to, if I was really going to think about why we all love a fire, because it really does go back to us sitting around the fire, maybe in the old caveman days. I mean, that might be taking a little bit too far back. But, when man first created fire and sat around the fire, we've loved it ever since. So maybe that's why it's inherently in us. We love it. I grew up with fireplaces. That's all we had. Used to beg Mum to light the fire as soon as we got home from school in winter. She was amazing at lighting the fire, and boom, there we would all sit. Everybody, like I said, the cats would fight for space. We were all in there. Fall asleep in front of the fire. Don't know what wood she bought, but it always bloody shot out sparks. Or it was all burnt around, logs would roll out. Gosh. Nick goes, Leah, a man who chops his own firewood gets warm twice. All right. Look, I see we've tried him up again. I'll try. No, we're not going to get him, are we, Kelly?
Yeah, he's going to give us.
Shame.
He's going to give us a buzz back on his landline. He's recovering from a hip operation at the moment, so he can't get around his house too well. Otherwise, he would have got up and run and got somewhere there with a better reception. But
so, what was he using? His mobile, I gather.
Yeah. We usually get people on their phones and kind of mobile around the house. But
there he is. Look, I'm just going to try him. Hello, Dr. Garsing.
Oh, this sounds better.
There we go. Welcome to the platform. Good to talk to you.
Thank you for the invitation.
All right, we got there in the end. Dr. Wong, beard transplants are something many of us might not have heard about. In fact, when I saw your story, I did not even think about a beard transplant. How did you get into offering up this procedure?
Oh, that journey goes right back to 1997 if I look at how I first became interested in hair. So that's probably a little bit too long. But back in those days, there was, other than the topical minoxidil for general hair loss, there was no other medications available. And then came along Propecia in 1997, and that just transformed what the medical profession could offer for male pattern baldness. And then from that journey, it just slowly introduced me to other areas of hair loss. And, hair loss is a topic which often is neglected in our medical studies. And so by focusing on that, it's just led me on to all the areas of hair, not only just facial hair, but also hair covering body areas or even pubic regions, axillary hair, chest hair, anywhere where there grows hair.
So I want to get to that because that's interesting as well. But if we stick to like the beards or facial hair, what kinds of patients are you typically seeing, Dr. Wong? Is there an age bracket? Is it or does it not matter? Is it all ranges?
Typically, the patients are between the ages of 20 to 40 who are interested in facial hair. And they can come for a variety of reasons, such as not being born with facial hair and as you pointed out in your intro, wanting to have a goatee or mustache, to those who have uneven or patchy hair growth. And then a proportion of people also want to cover up either unsightly scars or birthmarks or even acne scars. Yeah. And one thing which is really amazing is we've got ACC in New Zealand who fund cosmetic procedures for patients who have had traumatic scars, which causes them a massive impact on their lives. And so we're really quite fortunate.
So it's a mix of cosmetic, but also medical and reconstruction as well. So there's a whole lot of reasons, which is amazing. Can you broadly, you don't obviously have to get technical because I won't understand it, how the transplant works? Where's the hair usually taken from? I gather, is it from the head and then put to the jaw?
Basically, you can take any hair. However, the best hair is the patient's own beard hair. I mean, you can't use another person's hair, although there was one documented case of a hair transplant in a non-identical person. That was very interesting. That person had received a kidney transplant from his friend because he was already on immunosuppressive drugs and he wanted to restore his hair. The surgeon then transplanted his friend's hair as well. But that's the only case that's been documented.
My gosh.
Typically, it's got to be your own hair.
Yeah. So you might get it, someone that comes in, a young man or a 30-year-old, and he's, like you said, might have a patchy beard, so he wants to make it more fuller. Is it are there potential complications? Do they always take? Or do you see a client and say, we'll do our best, but for some reason it will not grow in this area?
You're pretty good at predicting the outcome for patients. It always depends on the underlying cause of their appearance, their need for having the facial hair. Where, that's for, say, someone who's doing gender affirming surgery, wanting to have hair, but then they may be on other medications which may inhibit growth, or perhaps if it's due to scarring, then the take-up of the hair follicles in the scar tissue is dramatically reduced, down from what we call success of 90% success rate in terms of the transplanted follicles growing, down to less than 30% if the tissue is damaged or scarred.
Can we talk about, you said there were other parts of the body where patients might want hair transplants. Are you doing more of them as well, or are you still mostly facial hair? Where else do you
Mostly
put?
scalp and facial hair.
Yeah.
I've had requests for where people have had hair removal in the past when it was fashionable to have a Brazilian, and then they wanted to restore their genitalial hair. So that's also something which is quite different. And in fact, one of the earliest documented successful hair transplants was in a Japanese woman in the 1940s who had traumatic loss of hair in her genital region. And unfortunately, that was published naturally in Japanese, and so that information was lost during the war. But it just goes to show how old the tradition of being able to transplant hairs has been in the medical profession.
Yeah, golly. Do you find, Doctor, that, I mean, I said in my intro that some people are men in particular are quite, some are happy to go bald at an early age. Others, they lose their confidence, and they may turn to somebody like you. What have you found really interesting in your line of work when it's gone well, and then your client comes back to you, and they've succeeded in growing the look they wanted? How different are they? Like, how grateful are they to you?